I'm here with Taylor Schreiner, Senior Director and Head of Adobe Digital Insights. Taylor, welcome to TITV. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Akash. Appreciate your time.
So the way that I understand your role at Adobe is you are in charge of a lot of the data that comes out of the company. Is that right?
Yeah, I have a really exciting role running a team called Adobe Digital Insights, and we provide industry-leading insights and perspective on everything from the digital economy to how AI is transforming customer experiences to creativity and generative AI, all across the board of what Adobe touches.
And so because you're the data guy, I want to ask you some questions about the macro state of play in AI. And, the first topic I want to ask you about is whether or not people are using agents, because I know they're out there. I know companies are selling them, but here at the information, I mean, this is a question we've tried to get to the heart at is, are people actually using these things?
Our data absolutely demonstrates yes. So we're seeing consumers use AI in general about 5 times as much as they did even a year ago. But what's really interesting about that is not just the adoption rate, but the trust that they're showing in AI. So when they show up from AI, they're spending about 25% more in commerce than they had been if they were coming from another source. And because of that trust, they're starting to now transact in chatbots, in the brand interactions on the webpage, and see that as the way that they want to interact with the brands that they want to transact with.
So that's really interesting. So people actually, they are shopping with these chatbots. I mean, this is happening.
Absolutely. In increasing numbers, obviously, like anything in AI, yesterday it was your neighbor and tomorrow it's everybody on your block. It's happening at an incredibly rapidly increasing rate. But I think it's fundamentally based on the trust that consumers are seeing in AI. And because of that trust, they're willing to make these transactions.
Now, tell me a little bit about, in terms of the usage, there's also the investment that companies have to make in these tools. I'm curious where you see customers getting the most ROI from these tools. Is this cost savings? Is it higher revenue? Where is this all coming from?
Well, one of the clear sources in the data is just making your web page visible through optimization for LLMs and AI. So for instance, we see the companies that are leaning into AI are the top 10% of fastest growing companies in our data set. So if you're a top 10% fastest growing company in our data set, you're getting fully a third more of your traffic from AI than anybody else in the data set. And that's because you're leaning into optimization for Gen AI exposure, you're leaning into LLM visibility, and you're using the agents that get those things done.
So walk us through some of the data here. I mean, do you guys, you collect so much data. I mean, are there any stats that really jump out to you about the ways in which these agents are being used, the cost savings, the traffic? I mean, what numbers should we be paying attention to here on our end?
Well, I think one of the things that comes out today at Summit from Oxford Economics that I can't take credit for, but they did an amazing job, is that maybe an eighth or a sixth of companies have really deployed agentic AI across the board. But within the next 12 to 18 months, everybody expects that number to be massively higher, to accelerate rapidly. And not only that, to transform the way that companies do business. So not just accelerate it, but change the way that work is done, because the AI is now living on top of the governance, data, and operations of the business and able to affect a bigger impact on the operation.
Now, one of the other questions we've been asking here on our show is, okay, so people are using agents. They might be playing with them. They might be piloting them, experimenting with them. Is it durable, right? Will it last? You just mentioned, you said the proportion of people that use this technology is set to increase. But I'm wondering about the people who are using the tools.
Sure.
Will they continue using it? I wonder if your data tells you anything about that.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think from across the board, the most interesting thing about the agentic transformation right now is how human it really is. So if you are an individual contributor who used to be fingers on keyboard, you're now going to be running a swarm of agents that get more done for you. If you were the CMO who didn't, talk to the CTO on a regular basis, you guys are now joined at the hip. And if you're a customer or a consumer whose interaction with the brand had been through, say, search or navigation, you're now operating through your own AI agents and the brand's AI agents to get work done. And it's when the human interactions change, when the organizations change, when the consumers change their behaviors, that's what I think creates durability across the board.
And how are those human interactions changing? What is changing about it that you're seeing?
Well, on the consumer side, we're seeing, as I said, increasing trust in AI. So one thing that really stuck out to me is that if you buy something with an AI agent, you're actually 68% less likely to return it, which
Hmm.
is sort of an odd stat. But that's because you have built trust into the interaction with the AI in the selection process of the item that you've purchased, and you believe that it's the right one and the one that best fits your needs. Or similarly, in finance, we're seeing 80+% of people wanting to get financial advice from AI agents and act on that advice. And so it's that level of trust that transforms your life. You're no longer going store to store. You're trusting the agent. You're no longer talking to your brother-in-law about where you should put your money. You're trusting the agent. And I think that's what is going to be the durable transition in our economy.
Great. Well, Taylor, I want to thank you for coming on. That is Taylor Schreiner from Adobe here on TIT.